What is up, everybody? Welcome into the show. You're watching Philadelphia Eagles Now. Chase Sr. here with you. And as always, I appreciate all of you for rocking with me. It is Thursday, March 5th. So thank you so much for clicking on today's video and being here with me. If you're watching this show on Friday, March 6th, that is great as well. What I want to get into here on the show, a bunch of NFL news dropped today, and I want to dive into how this impacts the Philadelphia Eagles. And keep in mind that NFL free agency is right around the corner. It begins on Monday. We got through the slow part of the NFL offseason, especially with how disappointing of an ending it was to Philadelphia's 2025 campaign. That wild card loss to the Niners, I'm still not over it. I got a sick taste in my mouth, but things are starting to ramp up. There's a lot of excitement around this football team, and with free agency getting underway on Monday, Howie Roseman's going to be making moves, whether it be signings, trades, roster moves, contract extensions. I'm not going to miss a beat. I'm not going to miss anything. I put a lot of pride into the work that I do here on Philadelphia Eagles Now. So that's why you got to hit that subscribe button, because when there's breaking news around the Birds, when they make a signing, whenever something big happens around this team, I'm going to talk about it right here on the show. So don't miss out. Hit that subscribe button, join the family, be a real one, and lock us in today. So this morning, wide receiver DJ Moore, really good playmaker, who's a shake and bake wide receiver who can line up inside, outside, can create by picking up yards after the catch, had a down year in 2025, got traded from the Chicago Bears to the Buffalo Bills. Now, why did Buffalo and Chicago make this move? From Buffalo's standpoint, their wide receiver room last year was one of the worst in the NFL. I like Khalil Shakir as a player. He can't be your number one. And so with the Bills moving on from Sean McDermott, a defensive mind, and promoting Joe Brady, an offensive mind to head coach, they have to do a better job with roster acquisition and offensive player acquisition on offense. And they just need to play better on defense to take advantage of having a tremendously gifted quarterback in Josh Allen on their roster, who they haven't made it to a Super Bowl with. And that wide receiver room last year for Buffalo, outside of Khalil Shakir, just wasn't a good one. You know, I was talking to people at the NFL Combine, and Keon Coleman is a player who the Bills drafted at the end of round one coming out of Florida State, basketball background. What he did with the Seminoles was very impressive. He can go up and get it. He's long, he's lengthy. He's got a physical nature to his game. He's a jump ball wideout who will make some wow plays. And by all accounts, he's a really good guy. But with the Bills, he'll have some really good practices and he'll shine and he'll be in good spirits. The next day, the immaturity will show and he'll show up late to practice. And it's very maddening when people inside that organization have to deal with that. And the miss of Keon Coleman has impacted Buffalo at the wide receiver spot. They also made that move for Curtis Samuel. They gave him a bunch of money, and he's been injured. And what's crazy is that the Bills lack talent at the wide receiver spot, yet my boy Smitty, who hosts our Bills channel, he was looking at some of the financial numbers. The Bills still have one of the most expensive wide receiver rooms in the NFL. So Buffalo needed a weapon for Josh Allen at wide receiver. They needed a pro. They needed a playmaker. And DJ Moore is that. He's 28, going to be 29 years old soon. His production was down for Chicago, which brings me to why the Bears did this. Chicago's going to free up $16.5 million in cap space by trading away DJ Moore. And the lion's share of their targets last year went to Rome Odunze, their number one, Luther Burden, who was a second-round pick last year out of Mizzou, who looks to be a really good player, and Colston Loveland as the tight end and their number 3 option. So DJ Moore had arguably the worst year of his career last year, had that great catch against the Green Bay Packers on that dime to win the game in that huge game for the Bears at the end of the year, and he will be remembered as a very marquee playmaker for the Bears who put up really good numbers. He was a part of that Bryce Young trade between Carolina and Chicago, but he wanted an opportunity to be a number 1 wide receiver elsewhere, and he's going to get that opportunity now with Buffalo, and he's going to play alongside Josh Allen. Now, I don't love the move as far as the value if I'm Buffalo, because I don't really think that DJ Moore at this point of his career is a number one wide receiver. He's under 6 feet. He does play outside, but sometimes he's best used as a gadget guy. You throw him some bubble screens, you get some blockers out in front, you let him pick up yards after the catch. He's that type of guy. But as far as a guy who is like 6'2", runs well, is physical, can break tackles, and is a threat goal line to goal line, he's really not that, in my opinion. You have to scheme him open. Oftentimes, he isn't going to get open himself. And these trade details are interesting. The Bills are sending a 2026 second-round pick to the Bears for wide receiver DJ Moore and a 2026 fifth-round pick. And that pick swap now gives Chicago extra draft ammo. They could use that in a Maxx Crosby trade. We'll talk about Crosby here in a moment. And it gives Buffalo a new top wide receiver who's definitely now the best wide receiver on that team. Although I think Buffalo needs to make another move at the wide receiver spot. As far as how this impacts the Eagles, I recorded a YouTube short on this earlier today. And it blows my mind how lazy people are these days. And unfortunately, it's part of the reality with where we are in the social media era where people's attention spans are not great. But I did a YouTube short outlining how this impacts the Eagles, and people were calling it clickbait. What are we doing? That is the laziest comment in internet history. You want to know how this impacts the Eagles? It impacts the Eagles in a couple of huge ways. The Buffalo Bills made calls to the Eagles inquiring about A.J. Brown. They were one of the interested teams in trading for A.J. Howie Roseman does not want to do business with an NFC team and trade away A.J. to an NFC team if A.J. and the Eagles part ways. With Buffalo now making the trade for DJ Moore, it takes the Bills out of the A.J. Brown trade sweepstakes. Ladies and gentlemen, you might be tired of hearing about these A.J. Brown trade rumors. It is one of the biggest storylines in sports. We're going to talk about it. And the Bills now being out of the running is a big deal. Number two, and this is even more important, DJ Moore went for a second-round pick. A.J. Brown is worlds better than DJ Moore, and it is not even close. So if DJ Moore is netting a second-round pick, A.J. Brown has to get back at least a first-round pick and more if the Eagles wanted to move off of A.J. So the trickle-down effect, the butterfly effect, whatever you want to call it, is huge in the aftermath of this DJ Moore trade. Thank you, Brandon Beane, for increasing the value of A.J. Brown, because now it would be inexcusable if the Eagles settle for anything less than a first-round pick for A.J. I have said here on the show, I don't want them to trade A.J. Brown. He is one of the top wide receivers in football. I've called him the best wide receiver in franchise history because no player in franchise history has had 4 straight years of going over 1,000 yards. A.J. Brown, his first 3 years in Philly, wasn't all-pro. He is a unique, dynamic, elite player. So when you trade away players like that, you better hope, and you better, if you're Howie Roseman, extract the most value out of that deal. And with DJ Moore going for a second, A.J. Brown has to go for at least a first if the Eagles trade him away. Jeff McLean with this report on the A.J. front, one of the more tapped-in Eagles reporters, that the 2 teams most interested in A.J. Brown are the Baltimore Ravens and the New England Patriots. That makes a lot of sense. Howie doesn't want to do business with teams in the NFC because the Eagles don't want to have to run into A.J. once or twice a year in the NFC. And that's in the regular season or in the playoffs, especially on an annual basis. And you look at Baltimore and you look at New England. If A.J. is going for a first-round pick, where is Baltimore? They have the 14th overall selection in the 2026 draft. If you're the Eagles, and let's say A.J. wants out secretly, he just hasn't made it public, or you're offered a really good deal, and you can get the 14th pick back and maybe a second rounder for A.J. Brown, you'd be picking at 14 and 23rd in the first round. You can either stay put, you can use and package those picks to move up if you really like a player. What if Kenyon Sadiq is there at 14? Do you make that move? What if a future Lane Johnson replacement is available at 14? Do you make that move? What if a star pass rusher or wide receiver is available at 14 overall? Do you make that move? The Patriots, on the other hand, can't give the Eagles as much unless they gave up like 2 first-round picks this year and next year. The Patriots are at 31st overall. Not a bad place to be if you're Philadelphia and you can draft at 23rd and 31st. You could move back from one of those selections and get an early second-round pick, and I would like the value of that because I do think this is a draft class that lacks name power but has a lot of depth at really quality positions. And I think the best value is between 50 and 75. So what if you can get some more picks within that range? And then for the Eagles, Devontae Smith becomes your number 1. You draft a wide receiver and you sign a player like Darnell Mooney or Mike Evans. You lose AJ, but then you address the wide receiver room in free agency and in the draft. Not saying how he's going to do it, but these are the conversations and the thought processes that organizations have when they think about something like this. Story number 2 is Lane Johnson trying to recruit Maxx Crosby. Lane Johnson with the eyeball emojis and added Maxx Crosby on X today. What does that mean? Who the hell knows? But Jordan Schultz with the report that the Maxx Crosby trade market is expected to heat up. I'm recording this on Thursday. Free agency begins on Monday. Howie Roseman, GM of the Eagles, John Spytek, GM of the Raiders, they probably want to know what they want to accomplish this offseason prior to free agency getting underway. And so if an AJ or Maxx Crosby trade were to happen, I think it would happen over the next couple of days. And obviously, if that happens, we'll go live and do a video here on Eagles Now. But these next couple of days are going to be really fascinating. Again, we've already seen 4 trades in the NFL this week. DJ Moore got traded to the Bills today. Titus Howard got traded to the Browns. David Montgomery got traded to the Texans. And then what was the other trade that happened? Yesterday, you saw Stephon Diggs getting released, not a trade, but a sizable move. And then that other trade was, I've got it in my notes here, Trent McDuffie yesterday, all-pro corner, getting traded to the Los Angeles Rams. So you're seeing some action and movement from these teams because they want to be able to plan for what they're going to do this offseason, free agency and the draft. You trade away a player like AJ, you trade away a player like Maxx Crosby, you've got to address wide receiver or edge rusher if you're the Raiders or the Eagles in free agency or in the draft. So I don't want the Eagles to trade for Maxx Crosby. I'd rather them hold on to Jalen Phillips. Jalen Phillips is younger. Jalen Phillips is going to be cheaper. He's going to be more affordable. And last year, he was more productive than Maxx Crosby. He averaged more pressures per game. He had 41 pressures in 8 games with the Eagles. You know he fits the scheme. You know Vic Fangio loves him. He, like Maxx Crosby, also good against the run. But Crosby's got a cap hit north of $30 million. So I'd rather just re-sign Jalen Phillips at that point. So all of this news tying back to and impacting the Philadelphia Eagles. You think it's clickbait? I mean, you just got to be smarter here because this is all intertwined. Really appreciate all of you for watching the show. I will have an exciting announcement over the next couple of days. I'm not going anywhere. Eagles Now is not going anywhere. But I'm excited to announce something new coming up here over the next couple of days. And if you're excited about that announcement and you're looking forward to it, I want you to type me down in the comment section. Hit that sub button. Keep it locked here on Eagles Now. Whenever breaking news goes down, I got you covered right here on the show. Instant reactions and breakdowns, that and a whole lot more. And I'll catch you soon. Go Birds. Peace.